the ever-changing weather around the world, ever-diverse terrain and roads across the world. With Kumho Tyre that has conquered all, there is no road you cannot go. Go with Kumho. Kumho Tyre.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to another Thursday night's action for the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans. Scott Rankin and Brady Baldwin once again behind the scenes on your commentary. As always, Dan Yeaman in the production box. And this time, Brady, this is going to one that's going to be generating not as many overtaking opportunities as we're used to here in the V8 Veterans. Circuit Park Zandvoort. Sea of orange haze, Max Verstappen, anyone?
I certainly think so. Thank you for the introduction, Scott. Like you said, round 2 here tonight. Circuit Park Zandvoort, another Formula 1 track on the calendar. We're at Magny-Cours in France last week. Zandvoort this week, a current F1 track, even though this is the older scan of the track with a little bit less banking at turn number 3. But I think tonight's going to be another wild race. We've seen last week some pretty good racing throughout the field at Magny-Cours for a pretty new track on the surface. This track has been around for quite a long time, 1948 in real life, this layout since 1999, 4.3 kilometers, 14 turns in the clockwise direction, obviously in the Netherlands, the home of Max Verstappen. And like you said, Scott, probably a bit limiting to overtaking opportunities in these big V8 touring cars, but I think these guys seem to prove us wrong and wrong every time.
Yeah, they always seem to make it possible. Tyre wear is always a big factor, and I get the feeling that it's going to be another one of those ones here tonight. This is the track map. Turn 1, Tarzan box. Turn 2, Gerlich box. 3 is now the hugely banked Huggenzold box. Hunzerug. And on with all the rest of them. You don't want to listen to me botch all the corner names. 14 corners, a ton of them to the right-hand side with that clockwise layout. And all of those white patches on the Google Earth images in the background there, all in and around the sand dunes. If you have a look to the left-hand side of the shot, that is a beach. That's how close this circuit is to the beach. So none of the Daniel Ricciardo diving into the swimming pool at Monaco. No, you can go around and splash in the waves after a hard-earned victory here from Circuit Park Zandvoort. Now, Brady, you've been following qualifying with a reasonable amount of intensity. I'm hearing times are tight right across the board.
I was just having a look before, and it's changed a little bit now, but between 7th to 13th, there's about 700ths of a second separating 7th to 13th, which is, I think in a V8 supercar, that's absolutely incredible how tight it is between those guys. The guy for pole, which we will see in a brief moment, has got him by 1700s, so it's just crazy how close the gaps are in the midfield there.
Yeah, and that means that it's going to be incredibly tight. We talked about lack of overtaking opportunity as well. All of a sudden, those grid positions become a little bit more important. 154 kilometers here the race tonight, slightly shortened due to the iRacing servers going down a little bit earlier tonight for maintenance. So everything's being brought up. Half an hour race has been shortened. And 47 laps possible for a one-stop strategy here. This was scheduled to be, I believe, either a 200 or 300 kilometer race here tonight, but it's been shortened, and that means that those strategy numbers, they changed just a little bit. Not what the drivers were chasing, but all of that was announced yesterday. Plenty of time to readjust those strategy markings.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Scott. And by our calculations we have been given, it's going to be very tight for that one-stop strategy. I think a safety car will 100% be needed to be safe to make it home. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of fuel saving in both stints, I think, to make it on that one-stop strategy. So it'll be very interesting to see how these drivers attack this race, as drivers look to be starting to go on the grid. So we'll try and bring up our starting order for round 2 of the V8 Vets V8 Championship. And Scotty Gamble, once again on pole position by 1.7 tenths of a second. Matt Vandercrane, he'll share the front row. Fantastic effort for Matt Vandercrane. John Latham and Kenny Ladder, who missed out last week, they'll share row number 2 with Chris Miller, one of the surprise packets from round number 1. He'll start 5th alongside the 919, another surprise packet from round 1, Michael Stewart. Then row number 3 will be the Blacktown Mazda Type N Esports pairing, Damien Cairns and Anthony Visma, sharing row number 4, position 7 and 8. Synergy Sim Racing, Christian Smart will start position number 9. Greg Sharp, he'll round out the top 10.
Yeah, and moving from there, one row further back, it is going to be Stewie Hall and Jeff Thomas in that beautiful 85 JWN car on 11th and 12th. And we'll shuffle slightly further back. We'll go to Stephen Kennedy and Jason Spriggs again in that Blacktown Mazda Type N Esports entry. Dave Kirby and Peter Vandercrane. Kirby again going to be our consistent performer, and Peter Vandercrane has both been making up positions just about every week. Matt Vandercrane again showing pace very late on in the piece last week. Chad Vigor and Scott McEwen, two guys that seem to find accidents. Chad Vigor seems to cause a few of them all of his own, and Scott McEwen seems to find his way inside of that one. That would be an interesting row to watch a little bit further down. Darren Crosby and Matty Parker. Matty Parker had pace last week. He will have been wondering what is, and he will round out P20 and P21. Sorry, this was 19th and 20th for Darren Crosby and Matty Parker.
And then Dean Flavel from position number 21, Michael Schroeder, position number 22. The next row will then be Michael Dumbrell and Chad Lewis in the ERT machine. Then we'll go back to Matty Scholes and Travis Hunt, position number 25 and 26. Veteran of the V8 Veterans, Jamie McKnight, 27th. Scotty Van Loon will come off P28. Paul Burns and Halal Caesar, they will share row number 15 and will quickly go through the rest of the grid. It'll be Brian Minogue, maybe relation to Kylie and Danny, who knows? Stephen Greck will start position number 32. Rick Vigor and Stephen Banks, they'll roll off 33 and 34. Then we'll have Rod Hollis and Simon Hedderscheid. Looks like to be the last car line up on the grid. No, sorry, looks like we've got a few more at the back. Robert Crisdale, Brenton O'Brien, and Troy Sipple as well. And a few safety cars and race control guys.
That's it, all the way down at the back end, and it's a great opportunity with Brian Minogue's car that we walked through just a few moments ago. Brian's Good Friday appeal for a cause close to his heart. The revs will rise in the Netherlands. Circuit Park, Zandvoort, the run to turn number 1. Gamble on the outside, slightly further ahead. Who's got the jump? It seems to be a reasonable getaway from Vandercrane, and here comes the field. Somebody got a horrible getaway, and I think that's Matty Parker that's been turned. It was Stuart Hall. Chaos! The track is just about jammed. It is a parking lot on the run to turn number 1, and I'm calling safety car because that was a huge one. It looked like Stuart Hall just did not get a launch off of that one, Brady.
I'm trying to think of words to describe that, Scott. That was absolutely nuts off that start, and there's a safety car being called straight away for good reason. Man, oh man, where do we start?
It happened up at the front somewhere. It was in probably the first 4 to 5 rows, and then you've got another 30 cars to make their way through. That's why you saw a huge pile up, and it looks like Damien Cairns was right about where it happened. It might have been him and Michael Stewart. Damien Cairns has just had to tow back to pit lane, so he was one of the first cars that was involved. He might be the one that we'll be keeping an eye on as we try and go to a replay, but that one, it's basically going to be chaos because we've got to try and pick up where this has happened. Your eyes are going left, right, and center. I can tell you Cairns spun tires on the start, and the car just ahead of him was Michael Stewart. Both of them went nowhere, and that's what's triggered it here, Brady Baldwin.
Yeah, just having a look at myself, Scott, and you exactly right. Damien Cairns, Michael Stewart, a little bit slow to get away. Stuart Hall try to split the difference through the middle. We will check it out on the Logitech G replay. Looks like Stuart Hall just, I don't know, didn't leave enough room to get past and made contact with Damien Cairns. That sent him in the wall, and then just all that melee from there on. So we will check once again from the start of the race. And you see on the right of screen, Damien Cairns slow. And there goes Stuart Hall. And then from there, it's all out war. There's many cars involved in that. Cars with some serious damage as well. Luckily, if they got back around, there will be one fast repair, but man, that's going to affect a lot of guys' races early on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's happened. The only car to get through, the furthest car up the field to get through was Anthony Visma, and just behind him, Christian Smart. So that happened from the third and fourth rows of the grid, ladies and gentlemen. That means the bulk of the field. It is far easier to tell you the number of cars that aren't involved than it is to tell you anything else. That's another replay. That was Visma shooting to the left-hand side of that shot. And on the right-hand side is where that one all kicked off. And Michael Stewart, Jeff Thomas were the second last two to get through. And it's the next car in behind Thomas, which I think was Jason Spriggs, that was the last car to actually get through that one. So Race Control will have their hands full early. My word, look at them all feed down into turn number one. I think, I get the feeling just about 3/4 of the field's got damage here. And this opens up that fuel strategy because we're just talking about potential to make it on a one-stop. Look, now it's a lot easier with the safety car situation, but doubly, if you're at the back of the field, probably coming for damage anyway, you may as well just double dip, come back down, get that tank filled off, Brady. You've got options here under their safety car.
I wouldn't put it past a few guys that are sort of towards the 20s on back to, like you said, top up that fuel tank and give himself a little bit more safety at the end of this race. See, I'm following Matty Parker right now. He's one of the unfortunate guys. It's a boot, rear wing, all missing on the 199. And I'm just having a look of who's gained a few positions out of that. Chad Vigor, he's gained 6 positions to go to P11. Michael Dumbrell, 23rd to 13th in literally one corner. Jamie McKnight, who's also known for passing a lot of cars, he's already passed 11 in a few corners. So a lot of guys benefited from that incident, but unfortunately, it looks like Chad Lewis, Stuart Hall, Kennedy, Crosby, Damien Cairns, Greg Sharp are all guys that got massively affected from that start line crash.
Yeah, so confirmation, the only car that was forced to tow out of that one, ladies and gentlemen, was Damien Cairns. I'm just going backwards through the field. I can tell you everyone past Christian Smart is okay. I think Michael Stewart got through there fine and he looks okay. Jeff Thomas is okay. Jason Spriggs was the next car. From there on back, we're talking the walking wounded. So Chad Vigor, okay. Just a slight little bit of contact to his right rear corner. David Kirby, if you're a Fishy Motorsports fan, he's okay. Darren Crosby, splitter was heavily damaged prior to the pit stop. Did he come down pit lane? Well, Matty Parker in behind him, missing that rear wing. The car immediately in behind Matty. Scott McCune, again, he just seems to... Somebody stick a magnet to the front end of that car. The way that Scotty McCune finds trouble. Michael Dumbrell's got damage as well. Peter Vanderkraan, complete front splitter, front assembly. Everything forward of the air intakes, gone. Jamie McKnight looks clean and is clean. That's the secret, ladies and gentlemen. Survive lap number 1 if you're Jamie McKnight, and you've gone a long way forwards. And then from there back, it's a lot of cars managed to just about pull up and stop and sort of slowly work their way through. Stuart Hall, Brian Minogue not looking too handy, so a bunch of cars. Greg Sharp's taking a fast repair, Stephen Kennedy's taking a fast repair. That is everyone, ladies and gents.
We're going to have a look. Sorry, Scott, to interrupt you. Simon Heddershot, the 05-3. He's gained 15 spots from that start of the last starting cars, P number 36. We're going to try and go on board here, the Logitech G replay, and see how it unfolded in the eyes of Simon Heddershot in the 05-3. And I think this is going to be a little bit scary, Scott Rankin.
Yep, well, the incident's just kicked off. There's a wall of smoke. He's managed to get on the anchors. He went sideways and it saved him. Wait, are you kidding me? Well done, Simon Heddershot. Cleared the track, got back down in there, got out of there. My word. Up 15 spots through that. That's phenomenal.
I really think that was nearly a best case scenario, even though, yeah, looks like he did get on the grass around the left-hand side. That spun him out, and he made minor contact with the guy on the inside, but it didn't really affect him. And Heddershot got through pretty clean. I'll give that an 11 out of 10.
Just having a quick look, there's actually not a ton of cars that have come to pit lane here, Brandon. You said they're fast repair. We're moments away, ladies and gents, from taking the restart, getting ourselves back underway. So just keep your eyes peeled for that one. The safety car's just about to pull away from the field. Reminder, it's not easy to drive these Porsche Cup safety cars. They do dance around a fair bit and they wiggle around a fair bit, and then they've got cold tyres, stone cold tyres as well, pacing speed tyres, because they've never actually gotten up to speed. So it's not easy to drive the safety car here, but we will be looking for a restart. Scott Gamble, John Latham, Matt Van der Crane, your top three, and we'll be looking for a restart here in just moments. Just moments as they start around the final two corners. Safety car is in pit lane. We're in Scott Gamble's hands, and have a look at Latham. He's right there, not losing any opportunity. They're all going to fan themselves out. They're waiting. How late does Scott Gamble go? It's a long run all the way down to turn number one. Almost pushing him along. Reminiscent of nearly Shane Van Gisbergen here from John Latham. He's right underneath that rear wing. He's waiting for an attitude change. They're at the start-finish line. He'll have to go now, and indeed he does go. Here goes Gamble. John Latham will file in behind him. That's Van der Crane, Chris Miller, Kenneth Ladder, Enemy Visma. Your top six in the rundown into turn number one. It's going to be down the inside. I think Chris Miller has managed to pick himself off a spot. He's managed to hang it over Kenneth Ladder and hang on to that one at this point in time. But Gamble gets through. More overtaking a little bit further back in the pack as they all settle themselves down. Single file restarts. They tend to be a fair bit safer.
Very interesting and bold restart strategy there from Scott Gamble. He really wanted to protect it, and yeah, like you touched on, it's a very Shane Van Gisbergen, that's their tight restart, but I mean, he hasn't really pulled away too much. John Latham keeping very, very honest there in P number 2, but looks like all clean and safe for the moment, as Stephen Kennedy has a little call into race control, so we'll try and pick up if anything happened there to the 55 machine. He is off the circuit, so something has happened there to Stephen Kennedy. He might try and pick that up on a replay in just a minute.
And the worst part is he's had to sit there and wait for the field to come on by as well. Who's down at 40? Troy Sipple joined the race late, ladies and gentlemen. Wasn't quite able to get to the server on time, wasn't able to take the initial grid. Might have worked in his favour, shall we say. Because he's dodged all the chaos on lap number one. Now if he can get himself a wave around and get back on the lead lap, I think more safety cars to go in his favour, but he is still out there, he is still going to be scoring points, and right now I think he's about to overtake Damien Cairns. No, Cairns got back out and tagged onto the back end of the pack, so look for him to attempt to climb back through the field from 38th at the restart. Did stay on the lead lap pretty well.
And we will be getting a replay of the 55 of Stephen Kennedy right now, courtesy of Logitech G. We'll try and pick up what happened to the 55 machine. Looks like coming out of the hairpin turn 3 on the outside of one of the ERT machines. It is Chad Lewis there on his inside. Do they mate? Yeah. So, I don't know, it just looks like a hard racing incident from that angle, Scott. Sort of hard to say. It just got a little bit tight there coming through turn number 4 there, and unfortunately Stephen Kennedy up in the fence.
Yeah, it's tricky. The thing about Circuit Park Zandvoort is it's very, very narrow. Yeah, Vigor's come across on him. Chad Lewis it was, has come across on him. Was definitely not enough room at the apex there, and I think Lewis will have a case to serve with the stewards. Right, Kennedy back into pit lane. Means he's going to be off the tail end of the pack. And that means potentially his race might be just about over. Might grab a fast repair, might grab some repair. Unless he's already snagged the fast repair, indeed, that might just be the end of the race for him.
Be super unfortunate there for the 55 Stephen Kennedy. He's shown some decent pace in qualifying number 13th, so really impressive effort for Stephen Kennedy. Unfortunately, it looks like he might be, he's gotten out of the car, so unfortunately be raced over for the 55 machine, but just checked up on the lead pack. John Latham has not left. Scott Gamble alone as we have this wild battle pack. Whoa, Rod Hollis, we're about 3-4 wide down the front straight. This is going to be absolutely massive. Peter Van der Crane, he's got massive engine front end damage, so he'll be slowing these guys up massively, and this is just causing a big ripple effect throughout the field. lot of these guys will have to be very careful to get away with any more damage here.
I think if you're in Peter Vanderkraan's shoes, you got to pick. Oh, they're chaos! Chaos in the hairpin. There's 2 cars facing in the wrong direction, and now they're gonna have to turn themselves around. And I think that was all caused by the bottleneck in and around Vanderkraan. And unfortunately, it's Paul Burns that's been involved. And I think the chaos has kicked off. Vanderkraan's got to come to the pit lane. He's absolutely got to get back into the lane. I don't think he can stay out there much longer.
There was contact between Michael Schroeder getting into the back of Paul Burns there, and that caused a ripple effect for a few cars behind. So a few innocent cars caught up in that. We might try and pick up a replay.
And there's another car out of chaos as well.
It's all kicking off while we're
Simon Hederscheid. No, it's Michael Schroeder, I think. No, it was Hederscheid. It was Hederscheid. So this is Burns, and this is all the chaos that's going on down into the hairpin. And then Simon Hederscheid got all out of shape coming out of turn 10 on the current lap as well. So this will give us another replay. He's just got served from the back end. Big accordion effect, called it right. So there's 2 sets of contact going on already, so something. I think race control are going to be busy all night long here tonight. And I can tell you, Peter Vanderkraan has now entered pit lane to get that fast repair, potentially get a top up, probably force fresh tyres as well, and see what he can make out of tonight.
And I've just seen another car. It's Hederscheid. He's in the fence as well. It's all happening. It's all happening. I don't know if he got any help. I'm trying to have a look. Yeah, he did get some help.
So this is on screen on the Logitech G replay. This is the one from Hederscheid. He just gets on the gas and steps out of control all on his own. But that may be ongoing effects from hot rear tyres. And then we'll grab the second one. He's down on the grass on the inside off of turn 1. He's got problems. There's something wrong with that car. Unless that's Vigor that's giving him a little bit of a helping hand. And then he's got helped again. So he has been absolutely in the war. So there's either a contact on the brakes or an aggressive downshift there for Hederscheid. So we might have pulled that wrong initially. But I think this one might be just a little bit about. No, he's done it again. He's done it on his own again.
It looked like there was a bit of neck code contact after a bit of further examination, Scott, there between Lewis and Hederscheid. So don't know how that's going to be called.
Or is that left rear tyre not sitting square? What? Might have just been the TV angle, or it might have been after. Yeah, that's not square. That's not square there anymore. Yep,
yeah, I can't imagine he wouldn't have any damage after those few hits, certainly, Scott.
It's just whether or not that happened in the first lap, because he's been struggling to keep that car underneath him is the problem that I'm seeing. And then this is further no, this is just back to live racing. So I was about to say more chaos has kicked off at the hairpin. No, it's just back to live. This is the battle pack in and around Hallel Cesar at this point in time. And have a look at the ball feeding through. This is from 19th through to 25th. There's just a ton of cars all caught up in this one. It's not an easy track to get around when you've got good visibility, when you've got good air all over the car, but let alone being in a battle pack like this, there's nowhere you can go. Those aero devices, that front splitter, that rear wing, it's not working. Locked brake down the inside. I think that was Kirby, no, it was Bro Brian. Down the inside of Kirby, and that's kicked off into more chaos. It's Scott McCune! My word! That'll be race over for McCune, because that is an already repaired car. And boys, just because we're here on the sand dunes of Northern Europe doesn't mean it's time to go on holidays with the driving standards.
Yeah, I really don't know what to say. It's been pretty sloppy so far from some of these drivers. Just silly little errors and contact that's not been needed. We'll have to try and catch up on the penalties. Stuart Hall, he got penalised for that start line incident.
Oh, here we go.
So that'll be interesting.
Race control's been busy. All right, we're up to 3 penalties issued already. Stuart Hall, so we saw the start line incident, I think, was Stuart Hall. Chad Lewis was then penalised for the incident we saw with, I think, Schroeder. on the car that was parked on the side of the road on the first lap after the restart. And then Schroeder has now been penalised as well. So there's been 3 separate penalties already issued by race control. I can tell you Stuart Hall has already served his penalty, so he's in and out. And I think Chad Lewis and Schroeder's only just happened in the last couple of minutes. So, and there are a few hands down at race control here this week as well. They've just got a few people out this week. So they were looking for some new blood to come on and step up. And my word, they're going to be busy.
A baptism of fire. This is your first week doing race control at this circuit, and especially the start line incident sort of kicked it all off, and it's been tidy up the front in the top 10. It's been really clean, but by there, just maybe a little bit desperate for moves. We touched on it in the pre-race. It's going to be difficult to overtake around this track, and maybe just seeing a little bit of guys just being a little bit impatient and trying to get a move done.
I'm always worried when I see John Latham this close to Scott Gamble for an extended period of time. Currently, starting our 10th circuit, so 9 laps into this race. That says to me either Gamble's holding back just a little bit. Latham's been quick of late. The big issue that's been hanging over John Latham has been the ability to hang on to the tyres like Scott Gamble. He's got the pace, he's got the ability to go with him, but Gamble's just got the long run pace over him. That is the big question I want to see John Latham answer. We saw him last week. He had pace. He had the ability to potentially win the race. He had to earn back second spot. And then a last lap slowdown penalty ejected him off of the podium and back some 10, 15 spots by the drop of the checkered flag, which was just bad timing, very poor timing on John Latham's part. But this week he seems to have got the goods out here, Brady. This is an opportunity for him.
Yeah, I think you're right, Scott. He's been really good for the first 10 laps of this race, and he might even have a look down to turn number 11 and 12. It's very ambiguous if you try to get something done there, that's for sure. But like you touched on last week, he was really pacey last week, and unfortunately cost himself a really good result with that small little error, that slowdown penalty at the final corner of the race, of all places. And I think he might want to redeem himself this week and showing a lot of pace. And he's staying within the draft for the front straightaway as well, which is the important thing. If you can stay with him the middle portion of the track, if he can get a good run off the final corner, turn number 40, he might just be able to be close enough to have a dive at turn number 1.
Yeah, that's it. Primo overtaking opportunities, ladies and gentlemen. Probably going to be turn 9, turn 11, and turn 1. Other than that, it's just about going to be single file. We've seen them go up and into the hairpin. This is an opportunity, and I think Gamble had to cover just a little bit. So Latham incredibly strong in the first sector. Gamble working hard to keep him behind him at this point in time, and this is going to go toe-to-toe, potentially, right the way through. And remember, it's going to be tied on that fuel strategy. We've had a couple laps under safety car. Now it's an opportunity for both of these guys to make it to the end. Who's saving? Who's going to make that critical lap number? I think you've got to do, with the safety car window here, I think you've got to do 25 laps in this first stint. No saving in that second stint. Brady, thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think they're going to at least reach 25. We estimate the fuel tank's going to be 22, maybe 23 laps. So I think you've got to make that 25 in this 47-lap race. And if we get another safety car, if we do, I think these drivers will be pretty safe. But depends when it comes too. If it comes in the next lap or two, it's going to be very awkward timing for everyone to be able to get home on a full tank. So I think it'll be timing of a safety car if we get one. But like you touched on, I think certainly you've got to try and get 25 laps out of this tank at the start.
Could you imagine if we get a safety car here in about 9 laps time? We get 27 laps at the end? I'd have a crack at it. I'd always have a crack at it. I love a good fuel gamble. I love a good chess match, a high-speed chess match, going as far as you possibly can. Right, settling down in the meantime, I want to keep an eye on Damien Cairns. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, he restarted 38th. Guess where he is up now? 25th. He's done a phenomenal job on the restart. And Dave Kirby has found his way into the wrath of the stewards. So something might have happened off screen. It might be one of those earlier incidents that Kirby was wrapped up in.
I think it was the incident maybe that was with Scott McCune. I was having trouble getting pictures on my feed to see what happened, but yeah, he's serving a drive-through. So the incident we've seen Scott McCune, I think there was one other car involved in that incident. Obviously, Kirby has been deemed the primary cause of that, so he served his drive-through. He's come out in 30th position by looks, just in front of Stuart Hall, who served his penalty a few laps ago. So unfortunately, if you guys copying the wrath of race control here tonight.
It's a horrible feeling driving down pit lane, particularly when you don't think you've necessarily done anything wrong. Because you got that whole time, you stick the pit lane limiter on, and then it's just a bunch of, I don't want to be here, I shouldn't be at fault for this one, I'm not the one. Oh, hang on, we got a smoking engine. Just in front of where we're looking at this point in time, I think it might be Stephen Gresh. Yep, so smoking engine on the left-hand side, there's something has happened. Unless this is lingering damage from lap number 1.
It very well could be Scott. I'll try and pick up if he was involved in that start line.
Oh, no, it's happened this lap. It's happened this lap. Telling me only a few corners ago. So I did see a little bit of smoke as they come around the U-bend down the back end of the car track. And he's come across, I think, a stranded Robert Crisdale in the middle of the road.
That would be very unfortunate. Here we go. Number 10, Stephen Gretsch, who was having a really good race up until this point. On the Logitech G replay, we'll see around... oh, no. Yeah, there's nothing Stephen Gretsch could have done there. Wonder what happened to Robert Crisdale. Did he make a mistake, or did he have an engine blow as well? It'll be interesting to see. We do go on board on cue, Dan Yeaman, as always. 808.
So the smoke wasn't even him. Oh, he's lost it trying to avoid. Oh, my word.
So yeah, it looks like Scotty Van Loon was a little bit slow in front, and Robert Crisdale checked up, lost the rear end of the car, and then Stephen Gretsch. Yeah.
Scott Van Loon has picked up the grass on the edge. He's queued up running in the 90s in the background. He's having his own happy go fun drift time. And Robert Crisdale tried to join him. Didn't necessarily do it all that well, and Stephen Gretsch is forced between a rock and a hard place, unfortunately.
Yeah, and certainly unfortunate there for Stephen Gretsch in the number 10 machine. There's so much going on in this race, God. I honestly can't keep up.
Stephen Gretsch is done. So Stephen Gretsch has already burned his fast repair in that lap 1 incident, so that is night over for Stephen Gretsch. And for Troy Sipple, all of a sudden, things are starting to look a little bit better further down because Stephen Kennedy's already out of the race. Crisdale's out of the race at this point in time. And now you've got Gretsch who's going to be down and out as well. And in the meantime, Troy Sipple's just out there just turning laps, just keeping himself alive.
He might even end up in the top 30 by the end of it, the way this is going, Scott.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? It's been a night of chaos. Did that happen to you guys as well? Yep, I think we've just lost timing. I can tell you, Troy Sipple is not P1. That flashed up on the screen for a few moments. There was a slight glitch on my race timing as well, so it might have just been a server issue. Anyway, timing has resumed. That's the important thing. All the gaps are back there. Beautiful thing, technology, when it works. Anyway, back to racing as usual. Gamble has now put 3/4 of a second over John Wathan since we last checked in with our race leader. They are 5 seconds clear of Matt Van der Crane, and Van der Crane has got a horde of Angry Hornets in behind him for the company. Chris Miller, Latta, Visma, Smart, Visma are actually exceptionally close together. Might be an opportunity for an overtake on the run down into turn at number 1 at this point in time. Not going to back out of it from Christian Smart, but he's got pace at this point in time. And Chris Miller is being stalked by Ken Latta as well. So this looks to be one of the bigger battles at the top end of the 10.
Certainly a lot going on, Scott, at the moment, but we've touched on a few times, it's going to be hard to make a move done at this track. It's very, very narrow, and It'll be really committed or really hope for a guy to make a mistake in front of you to get the job done. Otherwise, it's going to be very risky. And we've seen multiple times tonight someone go for a move and end up pretty bad.
I kind of liken it a little bit to the Nürburgring, to the Nordschleife. It's this long, undulating, tricky sort of track, and it's quite narrow, but it does have its wider spots, and it does have its overtaking opportunities through the middle sectors of this track where these drivers are at this point in time. Run out of turn number 11 as well. Really good opportunity, but you've got to be there. You've got to set it up. The crisscrosses on. And generally, considering if drivers are of even standard, it's actually far more difficult to just stay attached. We've seen it in Formula One the last couple of years when they've come here, even with the banking. It's just a narrow track, and these are big, heavy cars. It's very difficult to open up a car's width for an opportunity.
Yeah, it really is, Scott. And you've got to try and make any opportunity count that you do get, and they come few and far between. The further up the grid you are, the front guys don't make mistakes all too often. So if you get an opportunity, even just a little sniff, you've got to try and take as much advantage of it as you can. Still on board with Anthony Visma, getting stalked by Christian Smart in the 999 machine. Battle for P number 6 on track, and these guys have been going at it all race long, Scott, and looks like Visma isn't ready to concede to Christian Smart just yet. He's slowly getting onto the back of Kenny Ladder and Chris Miller. They're battling for P number 4.
Yeah, heavy battle that's going on side to side. I was actually just going to mention, if you haven't joined the V8 Veterans Discord, now might be the time to do so. This is my favourite part of the season. It's the Super Vets competition, and with season number 15 comes a new driver listings. You get to jump in, you get to pick 6 drivers across all 3 splits. It's effectively a fantasy competition featuring all your favourite V8 veterans that are out there. Scott Gamble and Michael Taliancic head up the top end of the price listings this season. It's $600,000 they've been pinned at for your driver pairings. Greg Favel's up there also at 3K. Latham slightly behind, might be a little bit of an underdog. You save yourself $25,000 on your fantasy team. Get yourself $575,000 driver. And join up on the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans Discord to play along at home. And we'll keep you up to date with how things are tracking throughout the season. You're gonna register an entry this time around, Brady Ballman. I noticed that I'd forgotten to get my entry in. I was looking at that a little bit earlier on tonight. Can I enter as well?
I'm certainly going to have a look at it, and if we're allowed to enter after round 2, certainly I'll be keen, and we're going to have a little inter-team battle with the commentators and see who comes out top season's end.
Well, see, the one-handed bandit last season was underrated. I picked him up, and was, after all the credit that we'd given him mid-season, he really was starting to push forward. So I'm thinking this season might be a little bit harder for Taliancic. May not necessarily do so well. Look at your midfield drivers as well. Picking up multiple drivers worth value. It's about scoring points up and down the field. Much the same as what our drivers are going to have to do tonight. In 10th place for some of these drivers is a big point haul, a great opportunity, and can Michael Stewart haul that bag of points home, sitting in P8 at this point in time. Great drive from the 919.
Yeah, there's a few guys that have stood out to me so far from Magny Corps last weekend, Zandvoort this week in the early doors of the race. Chris Miller up in P4. He's doing a fantastic job. I remember him around the edge of the top 10 last season, but he's obviously been doing the work, putting in the laps. It's certainly really good to see him get such a good result at last weekend so far this weekend. Michael Stewart's been the other one. He's in P8 at the moment, so a few guys to keep an eye out on for the rest of this race and the rest of the season. They've certainly impressed me so far.
Yeah, Matt Van der Crane, I'm really, really impressed with the way that he's been driving. He's lifted his game from last season. Whether or not it's the tracks have really favoured him this time out, he's put a fair bit more practice in. Who knows? Dave Kirby was flying under the radar a bit, managed to bring home quite a strong result in the overall championship as well. Sprinson Thomas, I was really impressed by the drive from Thomas last week. That was a bang-up drive, wasn't it, Brady, from Magny Corps?
Yeah, it certainly was. I couldn't forget, Jeff Thomas. He was on the fringes of the top 5, top 10 throughout the season last season, then coming out with the podium result at round 1 P number 2 from memory, with Kirby third last week. So a great way to start the season. Another top 10 tonight. Certainly looking for another good bag of points in the 85 machine.
Yeah, where are they the vets pricing this? So I'm thinking Kirby and Jeff Thomas might just be underdogs, might be a little underrated. Jeff Thomas is up there, he's at 475. I'll have to do some digging. I'll have to come back with the value for money picks, I think, as well. That's the important part. Anyway, ladies and gents, keep your eyes up and down the wall. Where are battle packs? I think it's starting to take some time back out of Gamble again. I'm wondering whether or not Gamble will be back in the same. Chris Miller's starting to buy in on the back of Vandercrane. Ladder's going with him. This is the fall off a little bit smart. Then there's not really a huge deal of battles sort of happening on the field as we might normally see. I think probably the closest grouping of cars at the moment is a little group in behind Rod Hollis, featuring Darren Crosby, Damien Cairns and Matt Scully. So Cairns is on the drive back through effort. He's up to 21st at this point in time after restarting 38th, which was after our caution period so far this evening. That field spread has started to happen. Indeed, there's a couple of cars who are about to go a lap down.
Yeah, a few guys will be carrying some damage. Looks like Michael Dumbrell, he was involved in one of those incidents earlier. Simon Hedershot, he's in the wars. Peter Vandercrane, he stayed in the lead lap after getting that repair. Good for him, but all the guys will be thrown off from probably taking their repairs, and they would have taken fuel early on in the race. They might be a little bit more compromised in strategy and obviously in track position too. So unfortunately, they might go a lap down soon. The first of them will be Dumbrell. Not much of a gap between Gamble and Dumbrell, but now the gap between Latham and Gamble is really closing up.
Yeah, and that's curious because remember what we just said probably, about 10-15 minutes ago? Gamble has been on form, the better driver on his tyres. Well, Latham is going to take some holding up here. And Dumbrell's found the outside barrier just in the shot of those leaders as well. So his night continues to go by the wayside. It was that next lapped car that they were about to pick off. He might be stranded, actually. This will be an interesting situation. He's stuck in the grass. We need to keep half an eye on him as well as we keep an eye on this lead battle as well, because here comes Latham. Latham is surging. He's getting closer and closer, lap by lap. There's 0.2 of a second now as they run down into turn number 1. But that was Dumbrell that was stranded. That was the shot of him in the grass. He's still trying to get that thing back to pit lane. This may trigger a safety car. He's just found an open spot to feed back in onto the track, so he's okay. He's off and running again. And the engine is still turning over for Michael Dumbrell, but we were so close to a second safety car of the night on lap 20.
Yeah, it just looked like Dumbrell was just trying to get out of the way of all the leader cars and accidentally ran a little bit too wide and put himself in the wall and played it safe and let all the front runners by, which is a smart thing to do. So kudos to Michael Dumbrell. He actually comes to the lane, but man, John Latham continues to apply pressure to the back of Scotty Gamble. He is not letting him go whatsoever. Scotty Gamble maybe had a little bit easy last week at Magny Core. He was obviously the best guy out there. I don't think we could doubt that, but John Latham, he wants to put out a statement tonight and say, hey, I'm right here for this championship battle.
Yeah, I think he needs to put that statement forward as well, because Gamble looks confident. He's closer now. He's really searching. It won't take much more, and Scott Gamble is going to be able to feel him breathing all over him. Turn at number 13, turn number 14, and then down the front stretch, Latham's tyres screaming for a little bit of relief, sitting in there behind that dirty air of Scott Gamble as Gamble ran it all the way out to the edge of the curbing. Not a great run this time by for John Latham, so he's going to be forced to just sit there and say, I think he's looking for an undercut. But the thing tonight, Brady, I don't know if you've been watching a track map, the track is full right the way around. There is not a great spot to feed back into. Yeah,
I totally agree. I don't think the undercut will be the way to go. I think with how tight the fuel is as well, I think you got to run as far as you absolutely can. I don't think being a lap or two early is going to do yourself any favours, especially with how tight the fuel is going to be. And you touched on it perfectly. There's that much traffic around this circuit. There's really no gaps. I think the biggest gap I can maybe see is about 7 seconds. But that all depends on how the transit time and how much fuel you take as well. So even then, it's a big risk coming out in traffic. And if you come out in traffic, especially on your outlap, I think you're pretty much done for at that point.
Look at the consistency here from Lathan. Look at the late apex here. He's trying to get that car pointed, trying to get back to the gas early so that he can look for an opportunity. I think if he's going to be able to get the job done, it's either down here at turn number 11, they'll go to the right-hand side and then to the hairpin on the left. And then it's sort of a lot more difficult to follow through this section. We mentioned turn one. Turn one's really an option when somebody's made a mistake, and Gamble's just been one of those veterans. He really has been around such a long period of time. It takes a lot to rattle Scott Gamble's cage.
Yeah, you certainly are. We don't really see him make too many mistakes, if ever. We've seen a few cracks last season from Gamble, and the few races that he won last season, he did not put a foot wrong, and I couldn't fault him at all last week, and so far I can't fault him tonight. He's really been a man on the mission. He's been putting in the work, and he's been faultless so far in the first two races, but tonight he's got a lot of pressure from John Latham. Unfortunately, it's really a two-way battle for the lead at this stage unless we do get a safety car before the end, but those guys have about 8 seconds over Matt Vanderkraan in P3, so it's really a two-horse race at the moment for this race win.
Yeah, it might be a two-horse race for the race win, but who finishes in this third slot on the podium is anyone's money at this point in time. Did you pick Chris Miller? Did you pick Ken Latta? Did you pick Anthony Visma, Christian Smart? Any of these guys on your Super Vets V8 Veterans team? Who's going to be the best driver out there tonight as well? Those Logitech G replays have been coming in handy. A big shout out to all the sponsors that make it possible over here at the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans. Can't do it without Kumho Tyres. They will get you there on the best rubber you can possibly buy. Logitech G, home of the best sim racing equipment to get you started on iRacing, whether that be on iRacing or any sim racing whatsoever. Nova is, I believe, the home of your radio station. And Nova Sim Sports. My apologies. I've only ever seen the similar logo for the Nova radio station as well. Parramatta Isuzu U as well. If you're looking for a U, think Parramatta Isuzu. And don't forget Player One Sim Gear as well. Right, ladies and gentlemen, through the sponsor roll we've gone and back to this battle pack for P number 3. Brady, have you been watching somebody up and down the field? Who have you got your eyes on at this point in time?
It's really keep your hard to keep your eyes off this battle pack between 3rd to 7th, but Stephen Banks, he's the biggest mover so far in this race, plus 17, a massive effort. Rod Hollis, we've seen him involved in that lap 1 incident earlier in the race, still carrying massive damage. He's up 16. Brenton O'Brien, he's up 15. McKnight 14, and Travis Hunt 12. Usually it's not surprising to see Jamek McKnight in one of the biggest movers in the field.
Yeah, he's sort of taken that role and responsibility on and absolutely owned it. Have a look at these 4 cars that are quite close together at this point in time. I want to see more of that battle pack, why don't you? Because here comes the run down into turn number 1. O'Brien's going to show the nose. Look at the checkups. Everyone's trying to find their optimal line down into the turn number 1. No moves that time by, but that's 7 cars. Throw a blanket over them if you don't mind.
Such tight battles here. Battling for P number 23, Viggo, O'Brien, Sharp, McCune, Burntons, Hall. All these guys have been in the wars tonight, so just a battle of attrition. I think most of these guys will be happy to get through this little battle in one piece. And Stuart Hall, he's on the recovery drive after that penalty earlier on. Paul Burns, he had a spin. He's still carrying a fair bit of damage, so few little battle packs starting to form as we said it was getting a little bit spacey. There's a few small packs starting to build at the moment as we reach halfway. We're starting lap number 24, and Simon Hedershot, he's just had a spin at turn number 1 once again. I think he was going a lap down. He's going wide to avoid the leaders, and luckily kept it out of the way.
Oh, yeah, there he is, way off out there in the weeds. Maybe he was looking for some sand over there on the beach as well. My lord, it's been a rough and wild night for a few drivers here. I wonder what the action's been like in Sponsors. That's the thing about V8 Veterans, the so many drivers that are just in this age range that love driving the V8 supercars on a Thursday night. There are 3 full splits of drivers that look to drive these hungry V8s. They wiggle, they wobble. Now who's going to be able to stick that nose down the inside when it gets down to turn number 1 this time? A battle pack from P23 to P26, 27 still seems to be the best. Damien Cairns has come into pit lane. Damien Cairns is going to be the first driver that's going to come to the lane. He's just about picked the halfway mark. There's a couple drivers that are down there now, opting to go for their service. And don't forget to follow along with all the action from Brian Minogue's point of view. Follow the links to donate to the charities that he's supporting out there tonight as well, ladies and gentlemen. Always a big part of all the drivers. We've heard Gamble talking about Soldieron over the last couple of weeks and how he supports that. It's Brian Minogue's turn to showcase the Good Friday appeal.
Certainly, Scott, and I'd try and like to see if we can get the pit transit time for Damien Cairns, just to relatively see the service time and pit lane time, as we might have a technical glitch at the moment.
Righto, ladies and gentlemen, apologise for the frozen screen at this point in time. I think we might have lost producer Dan Yeaman, so apologies for technical difficulties here tonight. It's not the first time we've had slight dropouts. Oh, pit lane action has just kicked off. Ladies and gentlemen, Brenton O'Brien, Greg Sharp, Paul Burns all in. Michael Stewart's in the lane. So lap number 24 coming to 25 seems to be kicking off all the strategy. Scott Gamble, John Latham both in. Chris Miller opted to go another lap, so he looks to have saved, and saved in a big way. There'll be no saving their second stint. So let's talk about the drivers that did not pit this time by. Chris Miller, Christian Smart, Jason Spriggs, Jeff Thomas, I believe, your top 4. Chad Vigor also did not pit. Simon Heddershire, Dean Flavel, Banks, Howell, Cesar, and Rod Hollis, your top 10. All of those drivers didn't pit. I believe Crosby did not pit as well. Vigor, Hall, latter would be the first of the drivers who might have pit. Matt Vanderkrane as well. So they've got some jumps going in that pit lane order. What's happened to Gamble? I don't know. They're in the lane at the moment. So those drivers have just come on into pit lane just this lap, which is why I was thinking things were a little bit shuffled up. No apologies. They've already gotten back out. They're a little bit further down the road. So Kenneth Ladders made a little bit of ground on Matt Vanderkrane, and Stuart Hall's in the middle of that battle pack as well. Still yet to pit. I think he served his penalty on lap number 6, entering the lane, and popped out.
John Latham has actually jumped Scott Gamble in the pit lane, so...
No way. 73.5 in the box. What's Ken Ladder doing? Mo, did he not take tyres? What's he done? You're... Hang on, we're just receiving word, ladies and gentlemen, that the front 2 are 40 seconds longer in the pit lane. Do you know what 40 seconds worth of additional transit time in the pit lane, or 40 seconds worth of static time in your box?
Wow.
It's a speeding in pit lane penalty. So Gamble, alternatively, you know what it could be? It could be an unsafe pit entry. They may have crossed the pit line, the blend line.
Also very true. There could have been a few different things there, but that's massive. The top 2 in this race have gotten a penalty, and Christian Smart, he now enters the lane from the race lead. I'm trying to pick up who the effective race leader is. It's hard to tell. Is it Ken Ladder?
Ken Ladder at this point in time currently leads on corrective strategy. Matt Vanderkrane is going to be third. Rick Vigor hasn't pit yet, neither has Darren Crosby. So these guys are all up in behind Rick Vigor. Vigor's probably on his way to transit pit lane, which is why he's being a little bit defensive. He needs to be on the right-hand side of the road as we exit both of these turns, but Ladder's going to try and get through. Multiple cars trying to get past Rick Vigor on the way down the start-finish straight. Darren Crosby's just in a pit lane, just in ahead of them. There's Vigor on the way in, punches the pit lane speed limiter early. That's one of the ways that you can really help avoid a speeding on pit lane penalty. Ladder comes down and takes the lead. Christian Smart is going to feed back into P2. So the overcut from Christian Smart awards him second place, and he's had to fight for that one down into turn number 1 with Chris Miller. And now a lock-up from Ladder. Ladder's wide at turn number 4. He is exceptionally slow out here, and this is going to make him vulnerable. That's a pinch brake. That's extra tyre temperature. That's extra tyre deg. Ladder might just be vulnerable as well.
We were just saying earlier, Scott, I'm eating my words once again, that it was a two-way battle pack for the lead. 2 penalties later, it's now a 4-way scrap for the win. Ladder, Smart, Miller and Vanderkrane all could win this race. I could not believe Christian Smart has made that much ground. He was 4 or 5 seconds off Ken Ladder and co battling for P number 3.
Surely it's pit lane transit time. I reckon it's pit lane transit time. He's probably saved a whole bunch of extra fuel. So this is entering the pit lane. This is going to tell us what's caused this penalty. You know, that looks clean. That doesn't look bad, but that's a poor shot to tell us if it was a blend line. It may be speed. It may actually be speed. There's no great way. No, it's the line. It's the line. Both of them have touched that white line on the right-hand side of that shot there. It's not a speeding in pit lane penalty. It is a pit lane entry infringement. It's for crossing that white line. Don't touch the line. You'll end yourself up with a 40-second penalty. And there's Visma, who got absolutely jammed into the pit lane. And he's got Austin Powers his way out of that one. Is it Visma? I think it is Visma.
Wow. Such a small error there for Visma.
He can't get out.
He's parked in the pit, so he's done.
Yeah, there's no way out of that one. And that was Michael Stewart was just boxed in as a part of that one. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while since we've seen an Austin Powers on iRacing, but we've got another one. Matt Vanderkrane. So just keep your eyes, ladies and gentlemen, on this one and just watch how he enters. See that white line? He was close to it. The car that was just in behind him was a little bit extra. I think that was Latter, actually, that pit from behind him. So Latter was actually better, but he was aggressive on the speed in towards the pit lane. And then Latter's actually been quicker through the lane itself. So that has blown this race wide open. Probably time to check in with both Gamble and Latham at this point in time. They've got an uphill battle ahead of them, and they're in 14th and 15th. They're still inside of each other. Well, they've still got a race on their hands. At least they didn't have to fight. So it wasn't just one of them. So we've got the excitement of these two battling, but also battling their way back through the pack. The next car on the track is going to be Brian Minogue in 13th. This one is about 3 seconds up the road from these guys. So Latham's turn to get on it and see what he can do. And Latham, I'll tell you what, Latham and Gamble are absolutely, once again, fastest cars on track, ladies and gents. And Christian Smart has gone and taken Ken Ladder and got that lead back. So Smart back to the point.
We'll try and pick up on, I'll try and find what happened, if it was a mistake from Ladder or a clean move there for Christian Smart. It was on lap 28 by the looks of it. Might have been. Yeah, so it looks like Ladder ran wide at the hairpin again, lap 28, and Christian Smart straight in the inside and taking the race lead. Synergy Sim Racing 1 and 2, but swapped around. Christian Smart started P9. He's back into the race lead, which is absolutely incredible. I didn't think that was possible earlier on in this race. And Logitech G replay on cue will pick up the 269 of Ladder, make another little outside brake lock into the inside brake lock, and bang, straight down the inside. Christian Smart for the race lead.
Yeah, that's it. Front left tyre. She was all locked up for Kenneth Ladder, and not only is that a problem for now, but he's also going to have that cooked front left tyre, and it is going to be slightly warm than all of his compatriots, which means he's going to be vulnerable to Chris Miller as well. So the 999 leads the way from the 269. The 666 is your podium. Matt Vanderkrant, if he ruined that pit stop, he was probably a little bit conservative on the way into pit lane. He also spent 51 seconds transiting the lane, which meant he had to take more fuel on board. The cars that ran behind him had to take less fuel on board because they were in that tow nearly the entire stint. Fuel saved. So that is the time on screen. You can see, yeah, there's 2 seconds from Vanderkrant to Miller, which is where he lost it. But Ken Latta following him was a second faster and cleared him well and truly by the time they got down to the there. Have a look at Latham and Gamble. Nearly more than double the rest of the field. 40-second penalties for both of them. Boy, my word, it's been one of those series whereby we've seen reasonable racing out on track, and then we've just seen one slight error somewhere, and it's costing people races.
I can't remember from last season, Scott, you might be able to remember, there was someone who was in contention for a win in a race that made a speeding in pit lane penalty, got a speeding pit lane penalty, and it cost them a potential chance for a race win. Do you remember Ben Duggan at Rudskogen?
It was Mark Duggan at Rudskogen. Yeah, that's what it was.
So yeah, once again, two small simple errors. Easy to do. We've seen the other guys get really close, and Latham and Gamble, they treaded too closely to that white line, and they ultimately paid the price. But it's the same for everyone, so they can only blame themselves at the end of the day.
It's one of those things that I've started in. I've made that error. I guarantee that you've made that same error as well, Brady. Not necessarily at this track, but you've just made that error where you've probably pushed a little bit too hard in the pit lane, or you've tapped a line somewhere, and immediately the first response is, right, that's it. I'm sick of getting this penalty. Pit lane entries are going to be part of my drilling. I'm going to run it really far to the right. I'm going to run it really far to the left. I'm going to brake early. I'm going to brake late. What do I need to know about this pit lane entry? From John Latham and Scott Gamble, the homework has not been done here, and it's shown. It's one of those little things. You make that mistake once, and you've got to remember that John Latham, this is his second iRacing issued penalty in 2 weeks. This is nothing to do with race stewards, ladies and gentlemen. This is simple track edges, track limits, painted lines on a road surface errors for John Latham. He could be theoretically. He jumped Gamble in the pit lane. He theoretically could be leading the championship at this point in time, at the end of this round tonight. If he hadn't have picked up the penalty last week, and then no penalty here tonight, he would have been ahead of Gamble.
Yeah, you're certainly right, and he's pretty well thrown away top two finishes just from two small mistakes. And you touched on it perfectly, Scott. We've both made them mistakes too, and it's just the high stakes of these racing. These guys are really good at what they do. There's a lot of fast drivers in this field, and you want to try and make every little bit count. And unfortunately, in John Latham's case, he's just overstepped it just the tiniest bit twice in 2 weeks, and unfortunately, he's paying the price once again. But at least he can battle his way from this one, unlike last week where it was on the last corner of the last lap.
I tell you what, Scott Gamble's actually starting to close in on him as well, so we might get a little bit of return of serve from that battle in the first stint. They're taking about 3/4 of a second a lap out of Dean Clavel, who's the next car on the road, about half a second a lap out of the bulk of the rest of the cars in the top 10. There's 1 or 2 cars higher up inside the top 10. They're only taking a couple of tenths out of it. So those cars are out of contention in terms of whether or not they can be able to chase them down. So you're looking for a little bit of chaos down the road to help bring cars back to them, but they've also got to present themselves and be in the right opportunity, the right mindset. Shake it off John Latham, shake it off Scott Gamble. Can't think about the penalty now. It's already there. It's been done. It's been served. What can I achieve from what remains has to be the focus.
In looking at pace and lap times up and down the field, I really think that Latham and Gamble in that order, I reckon they'll reach Flavel very soon, but based off pace, 11th, 10th, 9th, all those guys are pretty well matching Latham and Gamble's lap time, so I really think they might only get one more position each in this race. We saw it's 15, 16 laps to go, so plenty of time for things to kick off and happen, but I think the guys in front in the next group are showing some really good pace, so it's going to be a struggle for these two guys, previously 1 and 2, to try and make up any more ground than what they can.
Yeah, so last time by 0.6 of a second was taken out of Dean Flavel by Scott Gamble. So that's the P12 to P14 time breakdown, and there's your sector times. They're running across the screen at the moment, so they are catching him, and they've reeled him in a reasonable amount yet again this lap. I think Latham's actually taking about 0.9 of a second out of him on this lap alone, so it's starting to really close down. The timing tell, it's about a second, under a second now on the run down to turn number 1 for Latham, and that's actually a much better lap out of John Latham that time by. He actually took half a second minimum out of the rest of the field, and looking about 8 to 9 tenths of a second out of just about most of the drivers. So the pace is there. It's 10 seconds, 9-10 seconds up the road to Travis Hunt and Matty Parker. Now if those guys start to get fighting, that'll close itself down a lot quicker, but still that might just be beyond reach. We've got 14, 15 laps left in this one.
Still plenty of time in this race for these guys to try and make some moves, and look at the gap from Latham to Hunt, about 9 seconds, just under 9 seconds. So a lot of work for Latham and Gamble to try and get to the back of the top 10, but I'm very impressed with Christian Smart though, and he's opening that gap up to Kenny Ladder, and it's hard to be not biased because of the top 2 cars. They're my teammates, so I'm cheering them on as well from behind the mic. But Christian Smart, he started 9th in this race, and I don't know how he's made it work. Maybe he saved that much fuel. He's got saved a lot of time in the pit lane, and he's jumped quite a few cars. He's jumped Vandercrane, he's jumped Miller as well, and maybe, well, obviously Visma had his troubles, but he's jumped a few cars, and then he got past Ladder on track. So kudos to Smarty. He's doing a really good job out in front and holding that gap at the moment at 9 tenths of a second.
Yeah, look, I mean, here's the thing. At least your teammates are leading the race, mate. Mine's back in 21st. So, Skullsy, lift your pace if you're listening along. To any of the Right Sim Racing boys who are listening along, hey boys, tell Skullsy, tell Boomer he's got to lift his pace, yeah? Tell Boomer to lift his pace. They've been joking around it. All the boys in the team are giving him a little bit of trouble. You know what they're calling this? They're calling this the Boomer race. So, I want to see Skullsy serve back and serve up some lap times from here to the end of the race is what I want to see from them. But a little bit out of control there. Was that Christian Smart sideways? Brady, if you could sit in your teammate's ear right now and you could feed them some race instructions, what would you be telling them with 14 laps to go?
Honestly, I just tell them to hit their marks and just keep doing what they've been doing, other than the Tokyo drift moment that Christian Smart performed a couple of corners ago. But I mean, they're hitting their marks, they're doing a really good job, and with a track like this, it's very hard to pass. You know, my advice would just be keep your head down, just hit your marks and not make any mistakes. I think you can afford to be maybe a little bit slower in pace. You don't have to be all out every single lap, and you can still maintain a gap just because of how hard it is to pass around here. And looks like the ladder has closed in a little bit that last lap due to that mistake from Christian. And Chris Miller, he's shown really good pace as well, so he might be a threat later on. But with it being so hard to pass, it's a big risk versus reward if you try and make a move.
Yeah, I can tell you as well, John Latham's pace has absolutely fallen off now he's gotten to the back end of Dean Flavel. So as soon as that dirty air started to get involved, he's struggling to keep attached to the rear bumper of Dean Flavel down into the turn 3, turn 4 hairpin. And he's got to be there. He's nearly there. But it's just getting that power down. The car ahead has just got so much more grip. It can look after its tyres so much better at this point in time, Brady. I think that's the critical thing. He's looking for fresh air to that nose. He's looking to position the car nice and neatly. Gets a little bit of a balk now. This is critical for Latham, because if he doesn't pounce, here comes Gamble nearly to his rear bumper as well. So they're all all up and all over each other at this point in time on the run down at turn number 9. Who's going to get the drive here? Latham squeezes it away a fraction now from Gamble, but he's got to go forward, John Latham. If you don't go forward, if you don't clear this car, you're going backwards. He's got to find that room for the dive. Is it here? Is it at turn 10? Here comes Latham, gets the nose down there, has to back it out. Now Gamble's just about there as well.
I think John Latham's got to focus on a good exit at turn number 14, the final corner, and try and make a move at turn 1, because I think he might be stuck behind him for another lap. And it's obvious that these two guys have some pace, but we've touched on it many times. I feel like I keep saying it, but this track is hard to pass on.
He's got to run this time. So there was a little bit of a momentum lift from John Latham coming out of the last corner. He was quick onto the brakes. Down at turn number 1. Shows the nose. Is Flavel going to respect it? Flavel runs wide. Latham goes through. Gamble follows. They both get through, and that's critical for Scott Gamble. He can't get held up as well. This is now an opportunity. Latham's got to get the eyes back forward. He's got to stop looking in that rear view mirror at Scott Gamble. A whole bunch of smoke at the hairpin there as well. So somebody might have gone off on this lap. And now they settle themselves back down and into that rhythm. Eyes forward, Travis Hunt's the next target.
Yeah, I think pretty respectful driving there from Dean Flavel. Probably realised that those guys were a little bit quicker, and he just ran a little bit wide, let him go and settle in. He's got about a 12-second gap back to the next car, so still a decent
here we go.
But look at this.
Yep, down the inside. I think that's Travis Hunt. Matty Parker going toe-to-toe, and Hunt's going to get the wiggle on coming out of turn number 9. So Parker will look to defend on the run to turn number 10, but Hunt's now got pace. Here comes Travis Hunt. Parker will survive another few corners. He'll keep his eyes on turn 13, turn 14. Who's going to have the bravery on the brakes into turn number 1?
Yeah, it looks like Travis Hunt got a little bit of pace to burn at the moment. This lap's goes right up to the back of Matty Parker, and both these guys had damage at the start of the race from that satellite incident, so to be the back of the top 10 is a really good effort from both drivers. I don't think Travis Hunt will be close enough for a move. He'll be very, very ambitious to try and get that move done, and he'll back out of it and try again as soon as he gets onto the back of him. And just ahead, Michael Stewart and Jamie McKnight battling for P8. Looks like McKnight has that covered at the moment, and just up ahead, Jeff Thomas and Jason Sprigg, they're covered by less than a second as well. And the battle for the lead, Ken Latta has gotten a little bit closer to Christian Smart. The gap down to 3.5 tenths, so Latta trying to push the issue with his teammate with just over 10 laps to go.
We're going to have to cut away back to 22nd, 23rd position at this point in time. Side by side through the final corner. Brenton O'Brien and Scott McCune. O'Brien's got the legs, but McCune's got the positioning to the right-hand side of the road, and Sharp and Kirby are going to go toe-to-toe in behind these two. So McCune will get the job done. He grabs P22 away, but Sharp and Kirby still going toe-to-toe. Still hasn't been decided. Is it going to be Sharp backing out? Is it going to be Kirby? They go side by side, and it's going to be Sharp off the road. Is that Dave Kirby potentially in trouble with the stewards for the second time tonight?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think this could be tough to call. I'll have a look now. David Kirby was right on the inside Kirby. I don't know if Greg Sharp just squeezed him a little bit. I think that might be called a racing deal, just in my quick reaction and having a look at it. Scott, I'll be interested to see your opinion of it, but Kirby was right on the inside curb, so I think he couldn't really do much more, to be honest. I think he was up far enough.
Yeah, so keep your eyes on this one. You're looking to the right-hand side of that shot. There's just barely a car width on that right-hand side of Greg Sharp's car. Yeah, and you can't really tell from that angle, but there is another angle that Brady and I have both had a look at, ladies and gentlemen, and Kirby is up on those curves, so there's not really a whole lot much more he can do. And I think you've nailed that one on the head. It's going to be called racing deal, play on. But it does not matter, ladies and gentlemen, what position is next to any of these drivers. That is the V8 veteran spirit right there.
It's hard racing, and I think Kirby was up far enough to make that move, and unfortunately there's just contact being made. Greg Sharp, he's lost a few positions out of it, but
here we go.
He's still on track. And,
whoa!
Up ahead, what a smoke, and Darren Crosby in the 66 machine. Hasn't lost any positions, but a massive moment there. Oh no, there's a lot more that's happened today. Darren Crosby has got into the side of Stephen Banks at turn 1, so a massive moment there. As we will pick up, hopefully, the Logitech G replay of that incident, and Darren Crosby, a massive moment. It's like he just completely missed his braking markers and had to jam him on late and got into the side, unfortunately, of Stephen Banks.
No, that's either a rear lock or that's a downshift, because there's a massive amount of rear instability. I'm going to say it's probably a downshift slightly too early, and that diff is locked. And he's had to bail out of that braking maneuver. So either way, race control will have another look at that one. Hang on, what's going on here? Chris Miller, hang on. Chris Miller's just gone past Ken Latta, so it looks like those locked tyres for... Whoa, my word!
Wow.
Well, I was about to say, the tyres are starting to wear, but that's up and over and onto the grass, and I didn't know that we'd put on a drift show tonight in amongst the V8 Veterans Racing, ladies and gents. Let alone a little kiss to the tyre barrier there for Ken Latta, and now he is struggling.
It looks like he's gotten away with it pretty well. He doesn't have too much front end damage, which would cause any instability or straight line speed loss. I think his car's actually all right. It's just now the tyres will be overheated for a lap or two, so he might struggle for grip. But this has opened up Chris Miller, who's shown some pace. Can he hunt down Christian Smart?
Hang on, someone had a shot. Had a shot is on the radio at this point in time. I just said race control. There was an issue, so Heddershide is in pit lane already, and that'll be him exiting the race server. I thought we had a chance right there, ladies and gentlemen, of another safety car. Turns out wrong. Oh. So something's happened to Heddershide on that lap. I'll tell the story. The Logitech G. Whoa!
Massive moment.
That's not where you want to park a race car, and it's also not where you want to park a golf ball. Is the sand trap out there at turn 14?
Oh, I will note, Scott, Travis Hunt has entered the pit lane on end of lap number 38. Travis Hunt entered the pit lane. He's now dropped down to 16th, and he was battling for 11th before, and he did go to a pit box before, unfortunately, my iRacing cut out on me, so interested to see what happened there. Either he underfueled a lot, or I'm not too sure. He wasn't serving a penalty, from my understanding. He did pull into the box, so interesting there for the number 32. Made a little bit of a splash and dash for Travis Hunt. He can go all out, and he's lost effectively 5 positions, I think. So he doesn't have to feel safe. He's got some fresh tyres, so he might be able to make up a few spots. He might get back to Scott Van Loon in 14th, but yeah, he's now 20 seconds off where he was before.
But if you're going to go for that strategy, surely you would have come in at the 3rd race distance. Why would you have gone to lap 25 for your first pit stop? That just seems a little bit odd, because the thing is, he's only going to do, 13 laps twice on this set of tyres. So, indeed, the second set is only going to do 8-9 laps on the tyres. So it's not really going to be all that far. Time for a check-in with probably Gamble and Latham again, just to see how their progress is tracking. They've taken some time out of Matty Parker. They're up to 11th and 12th, so there's opportunity here. Here we go. So we've got Latham and Gamble tagged on the back end of that. So 7 seconds to now to this pack. So they have taken some time out of them, but they're gonna run out of time. They need to be a second a lap faster from here to the end of the race, Brady, to be able to catch it. So it's a good call. I think the places that you said that these two were possible of catching, I think it's done and dusted for Latham and Gamble, unfortunately. incidents ahead of them.
Yeah, I certainly think so. And was it Greg Sharp has called into race control? Maybe try and pick up something there for Greg Sharp. Have you got anything on your screen, Scott? We might have something on the check G replay of what's happened to Greg Sharp.
So there's two separate incidents that's actually a part of this one. So this is Scott McCune and Matt Skulls, and they will make contact with each other, and McCune's going to dive down onto the inside, and then this is a secondary contact, which is nearly a mirror image of the first set of contact. I think it was like the Vandercrane saw the incident up ahead and was sort of trying to keep his eyes on the cars that were often in the grass, and didn't recognise that Sharp is trying to dive that nose down into the tank. What's it called in this moment? Is that just a shuffling of the battle that's in and around these guys? It's Rick Vigor. It's the other car that's now in between these two. So Vandercrane's managed to get past Vigor, and now Brian Minogue will tag himself onto the rear bumper of these guys as well. And what was a battle for McCune? Oh, down the inside from Sharp, and he's going to make contact with Vigor. And they will resettle and resort themselves. And Brian Minogue says, yeah, I'll have some of that, boys. And grabs himself a 2-for-1 deal at turn 13.
That was a wild moment there between Vigor and Sharp. Man, Greg Vigor, what a save for himself to hang on to that, not even dip a wheel. It just dipped the wheel in the dirt. So fantastic save. These guys are going at it in the last 5-6 laps of this race, and Minogue picked up another position. He's up 5 in this race.
Yep, so some more information as well for those of you following along at home on Brian Minogue and the appeal that he's got alongside that car. This week it is... Sorry, I just had the information, I closed it down. Right, so 3.5 weeks ago, his daughter was admitted to hospital after being months of sick on and off, and blood tests and scans, and unfortunately his daughter's had to spend an extended period of time in the hospital. So the Good Friday appeal has been to try and raise funds for some of the surgery and also just for spending an extended period of time in the hospital as well. The link is attached to both the chat over on Facebook and over on the SimSpeed YouTube as well. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching along at home and you want to share something out that will support one of our racing members here at the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans, click the links and show that kindness around this time of year, around Easter weekend. We hope that Brian Minogue and family will be spending a much happier times together in the weeks to come. So thank you very much for sharing that personal side of things with us, Brian Minogue. We appreciate you, and we appreciate your family and what it takes to go simulator racing, because it is one of those things. It's a family deal. It's taking times away from being with your family, Brady, and sometimes it's quite tough to make that racing commitment.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, Scott, and shout out to Brian for coming out of race tonight and doing what he's doing. It's a very honourable for what he's doing, the 118 driver, but I'm just picking up back for the race lead. Christian Smart has lost a fair bit of time on that last lap. It is now down to 0.8 of a second between him and Chris Miller.
Don't tell me, because I think he had one of the quicker pit stops of a lot of them, but he did go the furthest on that first stint. So he went to lap 27, and Jeff Thomas was the only other driver out of our lead 6 that went that far. And I have a sneaking suspicion he spent the least amount of time on pit road, which would make sense, but has he underfilled maybe just a smidgen too far? Or maybe there was a mistake lurking in the water on that lap for Christian Smart, because you invert those 3 9s and the 3 6s are coming his way, and the gap did dip below a second for most of this lap. So with a few laps to go from Chris Miller, it could be... Well, there you go. So that's the sector times that we're looking at, a 34.2 and a 35.3 compared to a 33.9 and a 34.9. So huge chunks of time taken out of the first 2 6. You know what that could be? That could just be a poor run off of the hairpin, actually. That would nearly explain both of those sector times.
Yeah, you're right. And the last 2 laps, Miller's been taking time out of Smart. So they're coming up to the line now for 4 laps to go. Yeah, 4 laps
Three
to
laps
three.
to go.
Sorry, so 3 laps to go. We'll see the lap time difference on this lap. I think Smart's opened the gap up just a little bit again on this lap. It's out to 1.3 seconds. Last lap, 39.0 for Miller and a 38.6. So 4/10 gain on that lap for Smart. So I think he's doing all the right things to try and hang out for the win.
Something's just happened to Rick Vigor as well. So he was on the radio saying something about turn 1 because he was the driver that was having heavy battle with, I believe, Greg Sharp as well. So something's continued on there for Rick Vigor. I think Sharp was starting to have a lot of issues trying to pull that car up. And indeed it is Greg Sharp that's going to try and slice down the inside of Rick Vigor. Heaps of space left, and Sharp did not pull that car up. That will not be looked kindly upon by race control. There's a heap of space there at turn 1.
Yeah, certainly. It looks like just a small mistake there from Sharp. Didn't get it pulled up and turned in time, and unfortunately got into Rick Vigor, and he'll be down the pack. And I did know when Travis Hunt made that interesting pit stop on lap 38 and said he'd get up to 14th, and he'll probably challenge Scott Van Loon for position. He's got past Scott Van Loon, and he's up to position number 14, so I'll take that as a win, Scott.
Well, this season is starting to prove interesting for us to up here. We get some of these calls right. Oh, hang on. Is that John Latham starting to really close in on the cars that are up ahead of him, and Gamble's fallen back off by 2.5 seconds nearly. But he's down to 3 seconds, so he's going to just miss out just barely. But those guys ahead of him are locked in an angry stoush for Jamie McKnight, who's got control of Michael Stewart and Matty Parker at the moment. And I did just watch Jamie McKnight's rear end have a big old wiggle off at turn number 13. So he is starting to struggle with the rear end of that car and moves all the way to the right-hand side of the road to break the toe as Jamie McKnight trying to hang on to this one. Latham will say, yes, please. You can start defending for all your money, because Latham will lick his chops and say, hey, I'll take some of that. 2 laps to go. He's going to have to make a 2.5 up a lap, and he will get there at the line. In the meantime, for that incident, we were expecting it. Greg Sharp's been handed a drive-through penalty by race control.
Yeah, I certainly think race control made the best decision there for that incident. That one we looked at earlier, it was between, I believe, Kirby and maybe Sharp. It looks like they haven't done anything about that. So we call that one right too, Scott. We call that a racing deal, and we're 2 for 2 tonight, so we're on fire.
Oh, Jamie McKnight just had a huge moment yet again. So again, Latham's going to start crawling up here. And they're tracking down Chad Vigor as well. They've taken a whole host of time out of Chad Vigor on this lap, because Chad Vigor was a lot further away. So I think there's been a moment for Chad Vigor on this lap as well, ladies and gents. Tell you what, the producer in our background is getting bored. He's looking at lap times. He's got his data warmed out. He's going to pull some data magic out in a minute. And again, McKnight struggling to get drive down. We're going to get, I believe, 1 more lap to go. And indeed, the leaders have just received that white flag. They're in the middle of lap traffic at this point in time. So they're going to try and navigate that from the top 4. Second gaps in between just about all of them. This is probably the next back. Again, it's going to be the defensive line from Jamie McKnight. But this will be the final run. Going to turn number 1. Defending from Michael Stewart. Stewart's had a phenomenal drive. Both of these drivers have given their all here tonight. Parker in behind them, involved in the lap 1 incident. Now it's his opportunity to see if there's something left. The top 10 beckons for these 3 drivers. They're locked into it. But will there be contact on the final lap? Again, McKnight, a small wiggle, a small moment on the hairpin. They're running out of time, though. Latham's catching, but it won't be enough. On the final lap of the motor race, again, traffic for Christian Smart as well as the rest of our top 4. So they're right there and in traffic. I don't think anything's going to happen. So we've got the opportunity to stay on board with this battle between McKnight, Stewart and Parker. There's been some gaps now starting to eat away. Parker's fallen off a little bit. Here comes Stewart, nearly to the bumper of Jamie McKnight. They've only got a couple more corners left to run. It's the runoff of 10. the left-hander. They'll open it up. They get back to the gas. Chad Vigor a little bit too far down the track right now, but has Michael Stewart got anything? McKnight, defensive line for all his money. No toe on offer. One more hairpin left to go. Two right-handers. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner tonight, Christian Smart in the 999 machine. Chris Miller's going to follow him home, and Ken Latta rounds out your podium. But the battle we go back to, Jamie McKnight, that defensive driver's done it. Vigor will drop to within half a second ahead of him, I think, at the line. He is really struggling late on, but it's a phenomenal battle for the last spots in the top 10. And then John Latham misses out by 1.5 seconds just about in the very end. So let's run through your top 10 as they all get themselves locked in. Christian Smart, Chris Miller, Ken Latta, Matt van der Crane, Jason Spriggs, Jeff Thomas, Chad Vigor, Jamie McKnight, Matt Stewart, Matty Parker. What's going on
These
here
guys are still going at it by the looks, Scott.
They are indeed. Brian Minogue, it's Scott McHugh, Dave Kirby, Peter van der Crane. There's a whole bunch of cars caught up in this one. O'Brien's in it, McHugh, Kirby, van der Crane and Minogue as they make their way through the last lap of the motor race down to the hairpin. Now it's their turn for two corners. Has somebody got a little bit of bravery? Does McHugh show the nose? Not quite close enough. It's going to be O'Brien, though, that didn't quite get the car turned in at 13. Here comes McHugh to the inside. He just barely lets O'Brien back in. So O'Brien will come home 22nd. It'll be McHugh 23rd. He's out of fuel. He's out of fuel. Kirby gets them both at the line. It's a dead heat. Nearly a dead heat from Dave Kirby to Scott McHugh. And O'Brien runs out of fuel at the line. Peter van der Crane and Brian McNogue in 26th. I don't care where they finish. The racing in that pack was epic.
That was absolutely incredible finish there for P number 22. Imagine if that was for the lead. That would have been absolutely epic. But still, how cool was that? And looking at the results after 47 crazy laps here at Zandvoort, Christian Smart for Synergy Sim Racing takes out the win by 1.9 seconds over the Pecky's Performance Racing car of Chris Miller in the 666. The 269 Ken Latta making a Synergy double podium in third. Matt van der Crane, Angry Birds Racing, he'll finish in P number 4. Rounding out the top 5, the top end esports machine of Jason Spriggs. And then back to the podium getter from last week, Jeff Thomas in 6th. Chad Vigor, really impressive drive in P7. Jamie McKnight moving through the field. Once again, one of the bigger moves, 27th up to 8th. Michael Stewart, another solid top 10 performance in 9th. And Matty Parker in the Nova Sim Sports machine rounding out the top 10.
My word, ladies and gentlemen. They say they do it differently in the Netherlands, and boy, have the field taken to it tonight. John Latham gets 11th, Scott Gamble, both of those drivers with a 40-second hold penalty. They would have been clear by nearly 20 seconds at the front at the end of the race. Dean Flavel, Travis Hunt, Hallel Cesar, Damien Cairns gets back to 16th after being dead last on the first lap of the race. Darren Crosby, Stephen Banks, Scotty Van Loon, and Rod Hollis round out your top 20.
21st, we'll see Matty Scholes, your teammate, Scotty, finish in 21st. And then David Kirby finishing off that wild battle pack at the end for 22nd. Scotty McCune. Then Brent O'Brien, unfortunately, running out of fuel on the line. Look at the gaps there in that pack. There's literally 0.8 of a second from Kirby down to Minogue in 26th, with Van der Crane in there as well. Absolutely epic. Michael Schroeder, 27th. Chad Lewis, he had a tough night in 28th. Paul Burns, he had a tough night in 29th. And Rick Vigor, unfortunately, in the wars there late in the race. He finished P number 30.
Oh my word. How good were the battle packs deep in the pack? Greg Sharp ended up with a late drive-through penalty, and then it's sort of the weary and the wounded from here on back. Troy Sipple, we mentioned, was late to the party to start tonight's race. Simon Hedderscheid had a lot of issues with that left rear tyre and 10 laps off the pace. Stuart Hall, Anthony Visma. Oh my word, the Austin Powers moment of the season for Visma. He's not had clean races the last couple of seasons. Michael Dumbrell, Stephen Gretsch, Robert Crisdale, and Stephen Kennedy to round us out, only making the 2 laps, 4 laps even here tonight. That is your racing field, ladies and gentlemen. And now it's going to be time for the post-race celebrations, Brady. Your boys are about to kick it all off. We'll start our way off with Chris Miller.
And
I think he's celebrating already, talking his way out with Ken Latta and Christian Smart. Chris Miller, when you exited pit lane, I bet you there was a moment of, hang on, what happened there?
Actually, boys, I didn't even realise until pretty much right at the end.
You had no clue that was for the race lead.
No. I was cruising around and I just had Ken behind me and then Christian jumped me and then one of the boys in my Discord said, you're running second, and I had to mute then because I started panicking.
I meant to grab Christian. I didn't mean to grab you off to start the interviews. I've grabbed the wrong person.
That's all right. I don't really care.
Apologies. We're going to do the podium all out of sync tonight, ladies and gents. Second, first, third. That's a bit of an odd order, so apologies for that one. Either way, mate, that was an interesting race up and down because obviously what ended up being the top four, you guys were all sort of stapled together even throughout that first run prior to the pit stop. It was difficult to follow, very, very difficult to get the car stopped, turned in, staying with the guy up ahead. So it was just about keeping your nose clean, keeping your nose out of trouble. And it looked like you made a fair bit of time on pit road as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's brutal on the tyres, this place, I found. But yeah, I knew I could sit around the 38s, and I thought if I can do that and finish in the top 10, I'll be stoked. And pit row, I made some time. I nearly hit the wall. I don't know if that came up, but it jumps up on you. But yeah, I just wanted to keep it consistent. That was the idea tonight. I've done enough laps around here. I've done a few hundred, so it was just to keep it consistent and then try and sort of keep that 138s because I thought if I could keep that time, I should be in for a good show in the top 10. So.
In terms of the season so far, obviously the performances have been sort of there and thereabouts. Magny-Course perhaps not going potentially the way you wanted. I mean, we did see flashes of pace last season in season number 14 to get a podium nice and early in the season. Does that set a nice platform? Does it now, do the mindset change at this early marker of the season?
No, I mean, I've only been, I think in July I'll clock up 12 months in the sim, so it's this last season for the vets, it was to make the top 20, so I didn't have to qualify. So that was perfect. I got that, and then this season I set a goal of top 10 if I can get it. So far I've started off well. Look, the guys up there in front, the Gambles, Lathams, and Ladders, and Kirby's, and all those boys, they're quick as buggery. So just to be mentioned in the top 10 with those boys is pretty good. So it's just about being consistent this year and trying to run around and get a top 10, and I'll be stoked if I can do that. So.
In terms of how would you rate this performance here tonight? Because obviously you've been stapled in and around that battle pack. Were you happy with the ability to go racing and the ability to just stay with those guys as well? Were you happy with the way the pit lane strategy plays out? Is this going to be sort of the marker for you as well? Is it going to be sit there, save some fuel, save some tire, just keep myself relevant, or are we going to see a little bit more aggression from the 666 machine?
No, I've always raced with respect, so I'll just keep doing my thing. I think as soon as I try and do what other people are doing, it all turns to custard. But this season, one of the things I've said is that we're going to do I suppose some proper practice. So Magny-Course, I did a couple of hundred laps there, and then here I think I'm clocked up over 400 in the test session, and then I've done probably another 200 off. Racing against AI, so it's more about being consistent, getting lots of practice in, so I understand the tracks and I can race and then. But yeah, those quicker boys, there's no point in fighting them. They're just way too quick, and the skill level that they show is crazy. So for me, it's about being consistent and just trying to put together hopefully a top 20 each week. And if I can do that, I'll be stoked. It'll be perfect for me.
All right, mate. Congratulations here tonight. Who are the sponsors that make it possible for the 666?
So we have Tim Nicol Photography up there in Darwin. We've got Pecky's Performance and Dyno Tune in Darwin. We've got West Oz Roof Restorations in West Australia, and Quantum Tin Solutions here in Brisbane. So they're all the sponsors for the team. So
Mate, congratulations on the P2 here tonight. Go back and enjoy it, because I know when we picked you up, you were talking banter with the guys in the broadcast booth. So we'll let you get back to it.
absolutely, I was telling Ken I was waiting for him to throw it down the inside. So
Well, you don't say that; he'll do it next time. You know that.
yeah, I know. Yeah. All right, thanks, East boys. Appreciate the broadcast. It's amazing. So good on you.
Pleasure, Chris. Have a great night, brother.
See you, boys.
All right, Brady, you're up next. Who are you going to grab?
We might grab the race winner, Smarty, I think, into the broadcast booth and talk to our race winner, the 999 machine. Christian Smart, congratulations on the win tonight. Not that I didn't have any faith in you as a fellow SSR driver, but going from 9th on the grid, looks like maybe a little bit of an undercut, a little bit of taking less fuel in the pit stops. Is that the case? What happened tonight?
Yeah, well, pretty much. To start off, I actually felt pretty comfortable here, having one of Jamie's really good sets on board again, and and the fact that I started fuel saving real early gave me that little bit of advantage. And I saw everyone else pit stopping, and I thought, shit, I got two laps of fuel left here. I'm just going to push and just keep going. And I think it just paid off in the end.
Yeah, me and Scotty were talking on the broadcast and did notice that you went a few laps longer than everyone else, and then obviously got the move done on Kenny as well at the hairpin when he made that little inside lock. And what was your game plan going from that moment forward once you reached the race lead? Was it just to consolidate or try and push as hard as you can and try and build as much of a gap as you can?
Well, initially I was like, I've just got to push hard and just try and get a bit of a gap. But Kenny, being the quick driver he is, I was struggling to pull a gap. I think I got it out to about 1 second. I was like, oh, that's a bit of relief, because when Kenny's within half a second of you, anything can happen at any time.
Me and Scott were discussing pretty much all race long on how difficult this place is to pass, being so narrow and not many heavy braking zones to make a lunge down the inside. Was it as bad or as difficult as what we anticipated going into the race?
Yeah, 100%. Like, even though you can get a really good run in the last corner and pull it next to someone for turn one, it's not guaranteed, because you can go just as quick around the outside here as Jamie and I have done before. And I think one time there, Anthony was side by side, but I still could not get past him. I had a couple of goes at it, but it wasn't going to happen. So I was, in the end, I thought I'd just sit back and save some fuel.
Well, next week we head to a completely different racetrack. Well, it's similar in some ways. We go to Phillip Island for a 250k race, a pretty flowing technical circuit like Zandvoort, but a lot wider and can make many passes and take a few more risks and put one down the inside. So are you looking forward to that next week?
I'll be, I live in Adelaide, so I'll be not unfortunately, but I will be in Queensland leaving tomorrow, heading there to Surfers Paradise to stay there for a week. So unfortunately, I'll be watching it.
Well, we might have to meet up in Cavill Avenue one night, Christian, while you're down here. Before I let you go, obviously any sponsor shout-outs you want to give?
Yeah, we should catch up, because we're staying at the Hilton, so looking down on Cavill, so sounds like a plan. And as for sponsors, I've just got to thank all the guys. Firstly, everyone at SSR, and got J. Ross, Hobbo, Damo, 20 others to mention. You got Laurie Saunders at Torrent Safety. I'd like to thank Podium as well. Chris Miller has got so quick, paying off all those laps that he did this week, paid off. And I think this is probably the first week that I've actually done 2 nights of practice, which I think certainly helped as well. So as for thank yous, I'd just like to thank YouTube followers, you guys, for putting on a great broadcast. You got Tim Nickel Photography, Kumho Tyres, Quantum Tint Solutions, Parramatta, Isuzu, Yo, Logitech G. You got admin Jamie McKnight, stewards, Cameron, Ash, Blake, Blair, John, SimSpeed Racecraft. Who else we got? Wave Runner Performance Centre, that's our main one. Smith & Sons, DR Epoxy, DM Cinematography, JK Signs, 88 Media. Got a few others there, but I could keep going if you like, but probably run out of time. So, yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, I could never get all the SSR sponsors. We got too many on their money, but congratulations on the win tonight, and hopefully we'll see you back for round 4 in challenge for another win.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Brady.
Alrighty, interesting chat there with Christian Smart, and we'll give the honours to Scott Rankin to interview third place getter Kenny Ladder.
Oh.
Evening, Ken, mate. She was a cracking race there in the dying stages. We just spoke to a few of the boys. Chris Miller didn't actually know that was actually for the race leads. Were you aware of everything that went on with the pit stops for John Latham and Scotty Gamble?
No, I wasn't aware at all, but they were there and then they weren't there, so I thought, well, they might have taken each other out or they crossed that damn line coming into the pits.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
They crossed the damn line.
Yeah. And I did a little test a couple of days ago and I crossed that line. I got a penalty. I'm like, how did I get that penalty? I'm like, oh, okay. And then practice it and I go, that's what it was. So, yep.
In terms of things tonight, I mean, this is the Ken Ladder of old. We obviously saw quite a few races last season. We were right there. You were in contention. It was sort of at the back of the top 3, back of the top 4. You know, you're right there in the top 5. Is this a return to serve, getting back to the old groove that we were sort of finding you in? There was a couple of things that didn't go by your wayside. You know, is it make that consistency? Is that the next jump forward for the remainder of this season?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, it's like anything. You just got to put the effort in each week, and I tried to put as much in as I could. You know, this week we had 2 nights to do it, so I felt that we sort of did very well. I wasn't too happy with the quali, which obviously sort of prevented me to sort of be on the back of John and Scotty, but you can't take anything away from Chris and Christian. They ran a really good race.
There was a couple of issues that you had, obviously, a few laps after. We caught every one of them because I think they were quite critical to your race. Locking the brakes going into that turn 3, turn 4 hairpin. I think it was second or third lap on the tyres, and then the 4th or 5th lap on the tyres as well. It's obviously quite important to not lock a brake for the single lap pace, but do you feel that may have caused you dramas over the longer run as well, wearing some of that tyre away?
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I think when I came out and Christian was so close and my brain was just wandered a little bit. And if you're just a little bit late, like getting off the brake trying to turn into that particular corner, it just locks and it straight obviously sends you wide. And I did it once and then I did it again, which let Christian by. And I thought, oh, this isn't too bad because I had to save fuel anyway. It was looking like I had to save fuel anyway. And that's what sort of happened. But probably about 7 laps to go. I'm thinking to myself, oh, yep, I've saved enough fuel. I was thinking a little bit too much, and then I must have got up on that curb a little bit, and it threw me into the wall. I didn't think I was going to finish the race, to be honest.
Well, not only finished the race, you've managed to finish it on the podium, and tough and technical here at Circuit Park Zandvoort, but things open up next week at Phillip Island. I believe you were quick there over the last couple of seasons, mate, so return to form next season. You're looking forward to return to Aussie shores?
Most definitely. Always seem to have a fair bit of pace there. I know a couple of other guys, they always do as well, but you know, see how we go. It's always a barrel of fun at Phillip Island, as we all know.
Well, congratulations here on rounding out the podium tonight, Ken. Who are the sponsors that make it possible for Synergy Sim Racing?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for a brilliant broadcast and the race control, and the guys at SSR, great bunch of blokes. And I'd like to thank Wave Runner Performance, Smith & Son Innovation, the Epoxy, DGG Custom, Australian Laminated Company, JK Signs, Nolan, Aftershock PC, West End Mazda, and Too Easy Finance. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ken Ladder, and I get the feeling we'll be talking to you a few more times this season, mate. Great drive here tonight, and we'll see you again next week.
Okay, thank you.
Righto, well that signs, seals and delivers us here from the sand dunes of the Netherlands. Next week, it's not so much of a sandy dune place, but quite a lot closer to the sea. Only a couple hundred meters closer, but hey, at Phillip Island, anything can happen. Perhaps somebody will tumble down off the edge. Got to be careful, you don't squish a few penguins on the way. Phillip Island makes the next round next week on Thursday, the 13th of April. I don't know about you, Brady, but it's Easter long weekend, and I can hear the sound of chocolate being unwrapped over the next couple of days. Are you going to be looking to put on a few pounds this weekend?
Hopefully not too much, because I don't need to do any more, but I've also got a week off next week for work, so I'm enjoying extra long Easter break, so definitely going to enjoy that, and we'll come back refreshed, a bit more refreshed after no work next Thursday night for Phillip Island, so it should be a pretty good race, and obviously it's going to be a great call with you again, Scott, so looking forward to it.
Mate, your teammate, catching up with him on Cavill Avenue. Cavill Avenue is an awesome place to be, so I hope you enjoy all of that one. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the second round of the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans Championship. Once again, a big shout out to all the sponsors. The naming rights partner, Kumho Tyres, the ultimate in tyre performance. Logitech G for any time that you want to get sim racing or even anything otherwise in terms of PC gaming. Promoter Isuzu Ute. If you're looking at a Ute, think Isuzu. Player One Sim Gear. And finally, our latest sponsor, Nova Sim Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, the Kumho Tyres V8 Veterans, proudly brought to you by SimSpeed. We'll see you next Thursday night. Let's go racing!
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.